Hey guys, it's Saskia with Posty, and we are on week 3 of our worm composting adventure. This week I'm going to be using a blender instead of an immersion wand. I've got my scraps, some eggshells, and I'm also going to try and introduce coffee grounds into the bin, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously I've got my worm bin, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've had to add some netting to the sides because the drama this week was that my worms were trying to escape, which is usually an indication that something's wrong in the bin. In my case, it was that the bedding was too dry. I think I have that resolved, but I'm going to keep the netting on just in case. Then we have our spritz bottle, obviously very important, monitor the moisture levels. And then lastly, we've got fresh bedding to add on top. And I think that's all we need for week 3, so why don't we go ahead and get started. So today we're kicking things off with eggshells, and the biggest thing here is that you want to make sure you've not only rinsed them, but that you've either baked or microwaved them to kill any harmful bacteria. And the biggest risk in these cases is actually salmonella, so we want to make sure we get rid of that. And then we want to blend them down as finely as possible, so almost to a powder level. And you're going to sprinkle these not only on your scraps, but potentially throughout the bin itself. It's going to contribute to really healthy pH levels. So now that those are blended, we can move on to our scraps, and I've actually already frozen, thawed, and drained these guys. Again, you can always microwave them if that's easier. Last week I used the immersion blender, but I want to see if I can get it broken down even a little bit more, so I'm going to try a standard blender, and yeah, that looks great. And it's really simple, but the smaller you can break these scraps down, the faster the worms can break them down, and it's just going to contribute to an overall healthier compost. So this is way more than my worms are going to be able to eat right now, but it's not an issue. I can just freeze or refrigerate them, and I will have leftovers ready for next week. So we've got eggshells, our scraps, and our coffee grinds, and now we are ready to open up our bin. And as always, the biggest factor here is we want to bury it. We want to go deep down to the bottom of the bedding and hide those scraps. And ideally you want to pick a place closest to the worm's last feeding so that they don't have to travel very far. And really, really crucial, you want to break up the food. So again, I'm just going to use about 1.5 cups of mine, and I'm going to try and really spread it out because I don't want any of those hot pockets to form. So once it's spread out, I'm just going to sprinkle it with eggshells, really douse it, and ideally this is going to help the worms with their digestion. So again, I'm just going to keep spreading it out, and that looks pretty good to me, so I think that we are good to go ahead and bury it. Now we're ready for our coffee grinds, and from what I've read, the biggest thing with this is moderation. So don't dump all of them in at once, it'll create an environment that's too acidic. So I'm just starting with 1 filter and 1 filter worth of coffee, and I'm just going to spread it throughout the bin. So now we get to check how's our moisture level. Again, I think that my bedding was too dry and my worms hated it and they left, which was a little disheartening. But a quick spray through and fresh bedding, and hopefully they will stick around and make me feel like less of a bad worm parent. As always, I've got my newspaper, which I love, and I'm also throwing in some toilet paper rolls because I'm feeling adventurous, so why not? You can see the bin's starting to get really full and actually kind of heavier, which is a little bit wild. But that level on top is really going to help us regulate those moisture levels. We've got it, we can seal it, and we are good to go for week 3. There's lots of reasons worms are escaping, but whatever those reasons are, if you don't want them running all over your house, stick the entire bin in a cardboard box and then put it back in its normal place. That'll help you control the situation a little bit more, potentially rescue any worms. Otherwise, just your regular reminders, check your food and moisture levels every couple days. And guys, we made it through week 3. Congratulations. We will see you next week. And if you have any questions or concerns in the meantime, check us out at goposty.com.